CBC Calgary News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us as we go behind the headlines on this Tuesday, it's February the 7th. Jumping ahead, want this weather behind us. Our top story tonight, fighting fentanyl. The number of fatal overdoses is growing at an alarming rate in Alberta, and Calgary is leading in that category. The drug has claimed the lives of 261 people in our city over the past few years, and now the province is taking unprecedented action. Terry Reith has the details.
Today's announcement, first off, you will not need a prescription to get a naloxone kit. Anybody can get one, and they are encouraging people to do just that. As well, first responders, and we're talking all first responders who choose to can carry naloxone kits. This includes firefighters, volunteer firefighters even will be able to carry naloxone kits. There are also some moves being taken to open up more active treatment beds for people who have opioid dependencies as well. They're committing about $750,000 to push forward on this plan in order to have more supervised injection sites. The Associate Minister of Health, Brandy Payne, says this is a public health crisis.
This is a problem where we are continuously evolving the steps we are taking and evaluating what more can be done. We understand the need is great, and we, as government, cannot do this alone.
Let's take a look at those numbers just released today by Alberta Health Services. We started off in 2014, 117 people in Alberta dying of opioid-related deaths. That number jumps in 2015 to 257, and now 2016, these numbers just released today, we are looking at 343 people dying. And just one other thing that I want to throw at you is that hospital visits. 14,000 individuals visited hospitals for overdose treatments in the first 9 months of last year. 22% of those people had been there before.
Terry Reith, CBC News, Edmonton.
So, do the new measures announced today go far enough in addressing this opioid crisis? To answer that question, we're reaching out to Dr. Virani, a public health physician who's been on the front lines treating patients with addictions, including setting up a special fentanyl-focused clinic here in Calgary. So, Dr. Virani, as I say, you're on the front lines. You have a better sense of how many people are dying out there than the average Joe. Did these numbers surprise you?
I wouldn't say they surprised me, but it's like any time you hear bad news that you expect, it still sort of punches you in the gut. I mean, 111 people dying in the fourth quarter of 2016 from fentanyl exposures is more than double how many died at the same period in 2015. So things are getting worse, and that's just inexcusable.
And I know that one stat stood out for you, the 22 fatal car fentanyl overdoses that our province saw last year. Remind us why that is such a concern.
Well, we're quite sure that carfentanil is multiple times as toxic as fentanyl, and exposure to carfentanil is extremely dangerous. It does reflect how important it is to have very frequent reporting or close to real-time surveillance, because this problem is evolving quite quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if we started to see other types of bootleg fentanyl analogs circulating in the illicit drug trade. So the 22 carfentanil deaths is frightening, but I anticipate we're going to see more.
Does this action today by the government go far enough in addressing this problem?
No. I mean, we heard about a new clinic for people who are struggling with opioid addiction being opened hopefully in the spring in Grand Prairie, and that would enable somewhere on the order of 300 people over time to get access to treatment, and an identification of potentially 300 spots in the Alberta Health Services opioid dependency clinics in Calgary and Edmonton. So if all goes well, that's 600 people who may get improved access to treatment. But we had almost 14,000 people present to emergency departments last year with opioid poisoning, right? And 22% of those people were repeat visitors. Those are certainly people who would benefit from at least being offered real access to medication-assisted treatment. Put 600 over 14,000 and you see the ratio that's not adequate to address this problem. Not to mention, most people using opioids have not overdosed yet. So our numbers are far greater than 14,000 for people who could benefit from treatment.
You set up this clinic, as we mentioned, and it started running mid-December. How busy has it been?
It's very busy. We're endeavoring to accommodate patients on the same day or the next day when they call for access to treatment. And really importantly, the time between the phone call and actual initiation of treatment should be as short as possible. The reason is we have every 18 hours or 19 hours in this province somebody dying from fentanyl overdose alone. Not to mention how many people would be dying from other opioid addiction. And so delaying initiation of treatment really doesn't make any sense. Beyond the sensibility that when somebody's struggling with a substance use disorder, you should be there for them when they're ready for change.
Dr. Virani, it's a pleasure speaking with you again.
You as well, Rob.
Just a warning about our next story here. You might find some of the following details disturbing.